معين. يروي الإمام مسلم في صحيحه عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. The hadith tonight in the collection of Imam Muslim, narrated to us by Abu Hurairah, and the theme of significance of invocation is what we're going to conclude inshallah by Sunday. And this is a hadith that I have to bring up, even though the hadith itself is not focused on this one theme, but within it there's a piece that is worth sharing with you. And the wording, or the hadith, the way it starts, the Prophet ﷺ says, سَبَعَةٌ يُظِلُّهُمُ اللَّهُ فِي ظِلِّهِ يَوْمَ لَا ظِلَّ إِلَّا ظِلُّهُ. That there will be 7 types of people, or 7 groups, that on the day where there is no shade, but the shade of the throne of Allah, they will be offered that shade. They will be offered shade on a night, on a day, where there is no other shade. Meaning if you don't have that shade, you're standing in the sun. You're sweating your ears off. It's horrible. You're standing, you're exposed, you're isolated, you're not dignified, you have nowhere to go. And those who are standing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's shade, they are dignified and they are close to the salihin, close to those who are close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they're finding some degree of comfort on a day that is filled with fear and anxiety and anguish and agony. And he counts, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, 7 groups of people. One of them is what I'm going to point out to you today, where he says, alayhi sallam, وَرَجُلٌ ذَكَرَ اللَّهَ خَالِيًا فَفَاضَتْ عَيْنَهُ. And a person who engaged in a moment of remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, خَالِيًا. خَالِيًا, al-khulu in Arabic is when something is emptied of something else. So خَالِيًا meaning in a state of emptiness. As in there's nothing else in this person's mind or heart at the time that they spoke of Allah or remembered Allah or engaged in some form of invocation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nothing else was there. They weren't thinking of anyone else or anything else. They had no secondary gain. They were not trying to prove anything. They were not trying to show anything. They weren't distracted by something else. There was nothing sitting in the back of their mind. They were trying to get rid of it. No, it was a moment of actual and complete purity. Complete purity and clarity, where they spoke of Allah, and the only thing that encompassed their heart at that moment was His name, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nothing else mattered. فَفَاضَتْ عَيْنَهَا. And when they did that, when he did that, that person did that, a tear ran down their face. Meaning a feeling of regret, a feeling of shortcoming, a feeling of love, a feeling of emotion, of some sort of emotion entered the heart, and it showed physically on the person's face. That person, with that one action, Yawm al-Qiyamah, will be called amongst the billions of people to go stand in Allah's shade. I'm trying to sell to you the importance and significance of invocation by showing how many times he talked about it, alayhi salatu wasalam, how many angles he used, and how much there's. Why? Because if you listen to the khutbah today, it's the third pillar. It's the third dimension of Islam, the piece of ihsan. Dhikr is how you get there. You have to learn to speak of your Lord. You have to know how to speak about Allah. Focus and think and love and feel and contemplate. You have to learn how to do this, or else your acts of worship are going to be empty. They're going to be skeletons. They're going to be balloons. Balloons. So you have 1,000,000 balloons on our kaffa, ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala salam. If you have 1,000,000 balloons on our scale, Yawm al-Qiyamah, what's the point? So what? If it's empty if there's nothing, there's no substance on the inside, then what's the point? Be happy with balloons? It's not going to do anything. That's why a person, ذَكَرَ اللَّهَ خَالِيًا, thought of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and there was nothing else. See, you can do that and you can be surrounded by 1,000,000 people. You can be in the midst of 1,000,000,000 people and speak of Allah and only see and feel and think about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You could be sitting in your room alone and talk about Allah and hoping someone's going to open the door and see you, and you don't have it. It's not about where you are or who's surrounding you. It's not an external problem, it's an internal one. It's an internal solution. ذَكَرَ اللَّهَ خَالِيًا فَفَاضَتْ عَيْنَهُ. And he felt emotional about Allah. And something he teared up, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants him this on the day of judgment. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us this great honor. يروي الإمام مسلم في صحيحه عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم 7 يظلهم الله في ظله يوم لا ظل إلا ظله وذكر رجلا ذكر الله خاليا ففاضت عيناه. صدق رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. سبحانك وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. جزاكم